Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second edition, live edition of The Charge. My name is Joseph Cachado, aka The Cashman. I'm your basketball head here at the Intermission. I got two great co-hosts today. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, Alex, want to go ahead?
Yeah, it's Alex Baumgartner. You know me by now, Papa Intermission. I'm excited to be here.
Drew?
You know the vibes. Drew Money Sign Drew, aka your favorite editor. English. Your editor's favorite editor. Let's get it.
It's better when someone else says it for Drew. Your editor's favorite editor. There you go.
There we go.
So yeah, it's been a little while since we did a live edition of The Charge. Last time we did one was the trade deadline. It's been a little while, but I want to give a little NBA check-in for all our lovely viewers. Just talk about those players on new teams and how it's working out so far. We can start with the biggest trade of the deadline, I'd say. Nikola Vucevic going to the Chicago Bulls. Everyone thought this was the new big three. How do you think it's working out so far? Drew, you want to give us your opinions?
Yeah. When I initially heard the trade, I'm like, okay, Chicago's getting arguably a top 5 center in the NBA, and to pair him with, players like Zach LaVine and even players who are still like developing, like Kobe White and Lauri Markkanen, even though they're not at like the level that we're expecting them to perform at, I feel like they have a lot more room to grow. And I feel like Vooch is that like one piece that the Bulls really needed to, I guess, bring those players together and like make a decent run. But from what we've seen, we haven't really, gotten what we expected. And I just feel like that's a little bit of a shame considering the talent that Vooch brings to the team and just the high expectations that the trade brought.
Yeah. I would agree. I think it just doesn't seem like it's working. When this trade went through initially on the trade deadline day, I believe the Bulls were in the 10th or the 9th seed. They were in a play-in spot. Now they're on the outside looking in as they have completely looked like they've fallen apart. And now Zach LaVine's out a couple weeks. So they're definitely missing some key parts, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be working. And like I've seen people call it the weakest big three and all-star big three in the NBA. And honestly, it's kind of looking like that's right. Or duo, sorry, not big three, duo, all-star duo of Vucevic and LaVine. They just don't seem to click as well as everyone expected. Alex, what do you think?
I know that you have talked about how good of a center Vucevic is. And when you left Orlando, you're like, okay, nice. He's playing with a top point guard because Zach LaVine is a top point guard. And they have good complementary pieces in Chicago. And they got the same record right now as the Raptors. And the Washington Wizards have a better record right now than the Chicago Bulls, which is something I wouldn't have seen. Obviously, Beal and Westbrook have been doing their thing over there, but I don't know. They still might get a play-in spot, but I would have thought they would have at least been better than like Charlotte, especially when LaMelo went down. Maybe it's just a learning curve with the team, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't have expected them to have this bad of a record. Obviously, it's a weird season. Like Miami's 31-28, Charlotte's 28-30. Like you're looking at these play-in spots right now. It's pretty close. So there's still a good chance you can get it. We still got some good basketball left. But I don't know. When Vucevic went there, I was like, damn, the East better watch out. Like Atlanta's doing really good. I wouldn't have thought Atlanta would have been better than Chicago when Vucevic came. But, obviously Trae Young's out a little bit now. I got a grade 2 ankle sprain. Don't quote me on that. He definitely got an ankle sprain. But I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, looking at that Chicago team, I think they have a lot of great pieces. Like I'm a big fan of Kobe White. I think Satoransky's not that bad. Markkanen has some potential, but none of them have been able to like crack that potential this year, it seems. Kobe White was struggling. He got benched. They threw Satoransky in the starting lineup. He struggled. He ended up back on the bench. Markkanen came back from injury, and he had like 2 great games, and then he just kind of quieted down, barely being able to average 20 a game. And it just seems like they're on that bridge of like getting there, but they're just stuck in the middle. And everyone thought Vooch was the secret to get them over the bridge, but it seemed like he just pushed them farther back. Well, yeah, that's our East plan talk about those Chicago Bulls. But let's talk about the big East plan for all our Toronto Raptors fans. The Raptors are, what are they, the 12th seed or 11th seed? I think it's one game out.
12.
They're tied with Chicago for 11.
One game out of a play-in spot. What happened to the tank? Fade for Cade. What do we think? Drew, what do you think about those Raptors? Do they have any chance of doing anything in the playoffs?
You know, excuse me, but from what we've seen in, I guess, the past few seasons, we've seen that the Raptors can really like make a push when they're, I guess, in a struggling spot. And with this new discovered talent, you know, like Freddie Gillespie, Malachi Flynn, Paul Watson, et cetera, I feel like those players can help us make a good push. But you know, it's we can't really call it now because I feel like it's still a little too early to tell. But in my opinion, I feel like we can still make a good push for a playing spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they have a really good chance of being in the play-in. It just, do we want them in the play-in at this point? Like, I feel like they've fallen so far behind. There's no chance they're winning a championship. Rather than going the opposite direction and get us that top 3 picks, we can end up with a Cade Cunningham or Evan Mobley. Like, we could get some solid young talent, but we're just – you can't fade if you're a Toronto Raptor, apparently. Like, it's just – you got to play well. And they've had some pretty key pickups. I really like the Birch pickup. They finally have a center. And then it seems like they're getting pushed in the right direction, but we don't need that this year. We could have waited till next year. Alex, what do you think?
Look at the standings right now. I'm going to pull it up for you. Philly's first, Brooklyn second. You win you're going to get the 9-10 play-in round if you make it. You win that, which you could because the Raptors have the skill.
Yeah.
You're going to play Philly or Brooklyn. Do you want that? No. Would you rather have a top 5 pick in this pretty deep draft, at least for the top 5? It's a nice draft. Or do you want to lose to Brooklyn? You're not beating Brooklyn, not in the first round, because Toronto's had too many injuries this season, and you know some of the guys that they acquired at the deadline, like Gary Trent Jr., he's a bucket. This guy knows how to play, but he's still only 22 years old, and you're coming up against this 3-headed monster in Brooklyn, or you're coming up against one of the defensive player of the year candidates, Ben Simmons. I don't think he should win it, but that's a different debate. And Joel Embiid, who is a top center in the league. Who does Toronto couldn't beat Boston last year. Philly and Brooklyn are better teams, and even Milwaukee this year are better teams than I think that Celtics team was last year. You're not going to win.
I agree, yeah.
Like, no disrespect to the Raptors. Nick Nurse is still a great coach. Kyle Lowry is still a great player. There's so many great players on that Raptors team. It's just this year's not the year. Run it back next year, the top 5 pick. Go get some free agents. Do something like that. You don't have Serge Ibaka that you had last year. You don't have, the health that you had last year either. So I rather them not tank, but not win.
Yeah, I hate the word tanking because I just think it's like a stupid idea. But at the end of the day, like sometimes you just need to lose to get better in the future, and that's where the Raptors are at this point. Because yeah, Brooklyn would eat them, like pick them apart, eat them alive, kill them. Philly, I'm not sold on yet. I need to see them play in the playoffs first. But on that, Raptors don't think they would beat them. Still a chance, but I don't think so.
I don't think Philly would be a team coming out of the East. I still, like you said, I'm not convinced on Philly yet. Brooklyn though.
Brooklyn, I'm not.
You don't want to play Brooklyn.
You don't want to play Brooklyn, but also we've barely seen all 3 play together.
What if imagine
a mess?
The thing that's good with Brooklyn is they've been winning games with 1 to 2 of them on the court.
Yeah.
Like Kyrie's been not. Forget about Kyrie. Forget about the big 3 there. I know you're going to talk a little bit about this, but their complementary pieces are really good. And I know Amino Hassan's talked about it on the Levitar show. It's almost like if you play all 3 of them at the same time, it's a defensive liability. But if you're running 2 of those big 3 and then you got the defensive players on the net, that's even scarier for me, I think. I'm a lot more scared when one of them's on the bench and then you got 2 pretty good defending options. Then who's going to beat Brooklyn? I don't know who will.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I said this when the trade first happened. Everyone was saying Brooklyn just gave up their bench, they gave up their future, but that bench is still pretty solid. And like when you have three of the best players in the league, if you just surround them with the guys that do their job, like 3-and-D players, just strictly defensive players, you're gonna win. There's no way around it. You don't need to surround them with the guys that are just gonna go out and like score, to try and score just as much as they are. You don't need that at that point. You need the guys that are gonna do their job of 3-and-D role players, and it works. The Blake Griffin pickup has been solid, as you're showing on the screen too. Elise Johnson, did I say that right? I think I did. He's been solid. He was in Raptors 905, I believe, and he's been solid. A lot of people wanted to see him on the Toronto Raptors, but he ended up in Brooklyn, and he's been killing it off the bench. They have so many guys. Luau Cabarro, solid. And we're all forgetting that, like, they could flip Dinwiddie into someone really good for next year, because I don't think Dinwiddie comes back next season. I think he's on a different team, but flip him and you get some pretty good skill in return.
Hasn't Claxton been playing good? Like every time I turn on a game, I swear like this guy is like the focal point of that defense. I'm a casual when it comes to Brooklyn, so I wouldn't know. But that's my face, my bad, guys. But yeah, like I don't know. I feel like he's been pretty decent, and then like. I was watching the Heat versus the Nets when Bam hit the game winner. It was Landry Shamet was just absolutely tearing the Heat up. Like this man was. It's weird when the Heat play teams. It's like random guys just start going off. Like Malik Monk is a Heat killer, and then Landry Shamet was just him and Duncan Robinson were going 3 for 3 for like a good 4 minutes. It was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I like him. Yeah. I feel like that's where Brooklyn has the edge, because they have the 3 superstars along with a deep bench. What do you guys think of Philly's bench? The 76ers. Like, what do you think of their role players? Like, going around, like, Danny Green, Seth Curry. Like, I don't know if I trust those guys in the playoffs yet. Even, like, Shake Milton.
I like a couple benches more. I like Brooklyn's bench more. I like Miami's bench more. There's Philly's always going to be a question for me. Until I see them do it, I can't have enough confidence.
Same with like Milwaukee, I agree. Like I think Milwaukee's in that same boat right now where the bench is always a question mark. But I like Milwaukee's starting lineup this year just with the addition of Drew Holiday. I think they're so much better. But we can get into another player that got traded. We'll go to the Western Conference now. Let's talk about Aaron Gordon on those Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets, their season recently, I think, fell apart with a recent injury. But before that, they were balling. And I think they have the MVP on their team. What did you guys think of Aaron Gordon's addition? Drew, you want to talk a little about that?
Yeah. So with Denver always, being one of my favorites in the West to come out in the past 3 years, I want to say that they still have that reputation of being that team in the West. Like if you think of the dominant team in the West, you're always thinking of, the Lakers, who can take down LeBron and AD. And I feel like the Nuggets have always been that team for the past 3 years or so, especially last year. Like we saw them give the Lakers the business in the playoffs. But with this addition of Aaron Gordon, I feel like it only makes them better. Like you've seen him perform, and you've seen them you've seen how they played, and especially how Jokic has played. Like I know I'm shifting the spotlight from Gordon to Jokic here, but Jokic is, in my opinion, clear-cut MVP. Like you could also argue that it's Curry. I'll give you that. I would say clear-cut, in my opinion,
MVP.
Because no one does it like him. Because, like, in terms of value, yes, you can argue that Curry brings more value to Golden State, but I feel like Jokic is the better all-around player, and he's become that guy in the league, and especially in the Western Conference. So, going back to Gordon, I feel like that addition of Gordon only strengthens them, and it only makes them that much more of a stronger
Steph's
team.
averaging 31.1 a game, man. I don't know. Steph is still Steph.
Okay, but then look at like Jokic's other stats. He's basically averaging a triple double along with
okay. Well, we're talking a center with good players on his team compared to Steph Curry, who is somehow by a thread keeping that Warriors team. Which James Wiseman's out the year. I don't even know what's going on. Draymond, Klay Thompson hasn't played the entire season.
Two seasons. This guy hasn't played at all.
Like Steph Curry is somehow managing to win games for this team. Now, I'm not saying Curry should win the MVP over Jokic. It's just when you say clear cut, you got to put some respect on my boy Wardell like that. Come on.
Yeah, like, okay, Steph Curry, yeah, he's having a ridiculous season. But I'm going to get to that. But before that, I just want to talk a little bit more about Aaron Gordon. Just because I was one of his biggest skeptics. If you listen back on the last live edition of The Charge, I wasn't a big fan of his in Orlando's. I didn't think he had what it takes to be that next step of a player. But clearly he's shut me up and proved me wrong, because I think it was Gavin that said it. When a player has a winning team around him, he takes to the next level. And we've seen that with Gordon now. And I think too bad Jamal Murray went down, because I think if they had Jamal Murray in there, I might have taken those Nuggets to go right to the NBA Finals. But yeah, now we can get into
doable. It's doable. I wouldn't lie. But that team is better than the team that the Lakers played last year.
Yeah, 100%. I think without Jamal Murray, I don't think it's possible anymore.
Nah. Well, speaking of the Lakers, just quickly, Anthony Davis came back last night.
And they still lost.
I mean, he only played – I know he had 4 points, like 4 assists or something.
They let him play only the first half. After halftime, he was benched.
Yeah.
I had him on my fantasy team, and I was so excited for him to come back, only for him to drop what? Like, let's check his stats right now from last night. Why isn't ESPN loading?
While you look at that, Joseph, what were you gonna bring up?
I'll talk about the Lakers a little more, because I like where you're going with that. But I wanted to say, I think the Lakers are winning the championship this year again, back to back. But with LeBron being out, do you guys ever notice that LeBron needs the storyline to get to his rings? Like, it's just always something. Like, every time he wins a ring, there's got to be something to build him up to it.
I did not know the Lakers are 35-24.
Oh yeah, they've stayed afloat better than you'd expect without their 2 best players.
Yeah,
and I think Frank Vogel deserves some credit there for.
As a wrestling fan, shout out to the Diffusing Dynamite boys, Joseph Casciaro and Gavin Axelrod. Every Thursday, we got that coming at the Intermission Sports. Quick plug.
Oh.
You're speaking of storylines. Tell me about this LeBron storyline you're thinking of, because the WWE loves their storylines. AEW has some nice storylines too. What are you going on about this?
Do some fantasy booking right now. All right. No, just LeBron, when he wins his chips, there's always like that comeback, like the Warrior series, the chase down block. There's always that one thing that like people remember.
The Game 6 against Boston to keep it alive in Miami.
There's always something like in his story, like there has to be a setback before he wins his ring. And I think him getting injured and being out, what are they saying, like almost 2 months? What better setback is there than that? He's going to come into the playoffs fully rested and show the world that he's still the best player in the world right now, and he's going to win his team a ring. And I think that's what's going to happen, because, they're just like repackaging him right now. He's getting built up. It's like a character change in AEW. It's a heel turn, bro. He's going bad. But the Lakers are winning the chip with this storyline.
What do you think about the Clippers?
First round exit.
42-19 first round exit?
First round exit, man.
See, I know that, we talked about this last year with the bubble bout, Mickey Mouse playoffs. Joseph also said that the Clippers would be a disappointing exit, and you also said in the first round.
I called it like exactly. Like I had it tweeted out.
You called that, and you called the finals too. Or
I did too. Don't forget.
Yeah. So you and Alex called the finals. So I'm thinking, if Joseph's calling the Lakers for the chip this year, maybe it'll happen. Who knows?
Well, the Clippers almost lost to a one-legged Luka Doncic. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, that's true. I also do want to point out the fact that PG has been going God mode for the past week or so. He's been putting up ridiculous numbers on ridiculous efficiency. And I guess the biggest question right now we have to ask ourselves is how can that translate into the playoffs? Because Paul George has been notoriously known for flopping and folding in the playoffs, hence the name Pandemic Pete. And they're calling him Vaccine now because he's kind of redeemed himself. So
go ahead. No, just don't forget when he was in Indiana,
so what I was saying is, I guess,
we're losing Drew a little bit. It's like pausing in, pausing out.
Is there a delay on that?
Yeah. A little bit.
Oh.
Just quickly on that point, Paul George in Indiana, he was taking those teams to like deep runs against Miami, the big three.
Yeah.
And then he was better after he left. He had a near MVP season in OKC. And he's like regular season, he's been really nice the last 2-3 seasons. Like obviously the playoffs a little bit different. But I think I was disrespecting Paul George's game a little bit after seeing the playoffs. I couldn't do that. This guy still knows how to play basketball, and he's very good at it.
Like all jokes aside, I know I said first round exit, but I'm like just messing around because like we hate the Clippers here in Toronto.
I mean, they could still be a first round exit.
Yeah, they still could, but like my thing with them was I always said they needed a leader, and they didn't have a leader because Kawhi's an on court leader. He does what like he shows his way of leading. He's not a locker room leader, I don't think. Just he might be. We don't know what's going on in the locker room, but he doesn't seem like the type of guy that's giving the pep talks or leading the guys in the locker room. But they added Rajon Rondo, who's like a pretty. People thought like, oh, what are you doing? Since they've acquired him, I think they've won like 8-1 since he's been playing, and
That's a proven champion. Like he played a decent role on the Lakers team last year too.
Yeah, you get that veteran presence in that locker room, it might change a lot, and he might be the guy that orchestrates them in the right direction.
Well, remember last season, there was kind of reports coming out from the Clippers locker room saying some players weren't happy with the superstar treatment Kawhi was getting, like taking off games, taking the helicopter to the airport, and they had to wait for him. When you talk about, the voice in the locker room, I think he worked in Toronto so well because he didn't have to be that voice. And in San Antonio, when they won the ring, he was definitely not the voice because he was young, and they had Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. They had bodies in like Greg Popovich. So maybe that's a little testament to what's going on with the Clippers.
Yeah, I think, Kawhi works better being an on-court guy where he's going to be the star on the court. He doesn't need to be the star in the locker room, if that makes sense. But
yeah, like when's the last time you heard him come out to the media and like, Jimmy Butler like 3 days ago said Bam needs to be more aggressive. He's not aggressive enough. Bam went in a game winner the next night. Yeah. You ever heard Kawhi say that to his teammates?
Never. Like you would never hear that. And I think the Rondo pickup, and like we're forgetting a lot about Ibaka too going there. He's been out I think 20 games now though. He's injured. He's went over everyone's head. But he's like you saw in Toronto, he was always like in the huddles on timeouts. He was like pumping up the team. And I don't think the Clippers ever had that player. And now they have him, they have Rondo. It might give them success, but I'm still not taking them over the Lakers. Like and no one cares about the Clippers. Why? I don't know. Just doesn't seem like they ever can win anything. But yeah, let's get into our boy Alex's favorite team in the NBA, his Heat, with the addition of Victor Oladipo, who's now injured, it seems. But
yeah,
me and you got in a little debate about this the other night.
Yeah, the Pain group chat is well, we don't talk about what happened in the Pain chat, but we did have a little debate about Oladipo's impact to the Heat. But talking about the Heat, let's not talk about Oladipo because he hasn't played a lot, and we're hoping he comes back soon. He probably will from the reports that we've heard. I want to talk about the role players that they picked up. Trevor Ariza had a rough start in Miami, and then after the trade deadline, it seemed like he really picked up the play, and now he's playing that Iguodala role, that 3-and-D type of player that they had in the playoffs last year. Duncan Robinson, after pretty much basically being told he's probably getting traded, trade doesn't go through. He has completely changed the way he's played. Not only is he hitting more threes, now he's playing more of an active role. They could play ball handler with him now. My boy Brady Hawk at 5 Reasons Sports, he's the hardest working guy in Miami. He's done some pretty good breakdowns on what Duncan Robinson and Bam, that pick and roll type of game they can play. It's looked really good with Duncan, and then there's other role pieces. I don't think the belly thing's really worked out too well, but they picked up Dwayne Dedmon, who's 7 feet tall, and the Heat have struggled with rebounds and just having a big defensive presence, and Dedmon's proven to be pretty good at his role. So, I don't know. The Heat have been kind of streaky, but now they're on the 7th seed. They're 1 game behind Boston and Atlanta, and they're only 2 games behind the Knicks. So, they could be the 5th seed after tonight's game.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Heat. If in the East, if I'm not cheering for the Raptors, I'm usually cheering on those Heat. Big Jimmy Butler fan. I love Bam. But we're talking about, like, I just don't think they're NBA champions yet.
I don't think they are either.
I think they're fine. They easily could make it right to the NBA Finals. They can beat Brooklyn, I think. They can beat Milwaukee. But I don't think they can beat the Lakers.
See, I don't know if they could beat the Lakers because in the regular season, obviously, it doesn't count. They've beaten the Lakers twice, but I don't care about that. I really don't. I need to see a healthy Heat team. The thing with the Heat last year, they took them to 6. Bam was hurt, whatever. I don't really care about that. We're talking about this year now. They need to play the matchups correctly because I think they tried to get pieces that could, attack AD, attack LeBron. I think what me and Joseph were disagreeing about was Oladipo. I think when he's healthy, because I saw in the limited amount of games he played, just for defensive purposes, like there was a clip where he was absolutely putting the clamps on Steph Curry. Steph even laughed after because he's like, this guy just all over me. I don't know if they can beat the Lakers, but I need to see more. I need to see the playoff. I need to see playoff heat basketball because that's when they turn it up. Jimmy Butler came out with a quote, "We get to the playoffs, I'll take it from there." That's the kind of mentality I love from that guy. Bam's a different player from last year. He's in Defensive Player of the Year contention. There was a great statistic where they ranked him guarding the best players in the league, and the stats were mine. It was better than Ben Simmons, and Bam's not a guard. Obviously, they're the same height, but Bam was putting on clamps on every single top player. Kyrie, Bradley Beal, Giannis, like every single one. Bam had the best stats in the NBA defensively. So defensively, I think they can take on any team in the league when healthy. It's just, can they stay healthy? That's the thing for me for the Heat.
Yeah. But yeah, my favorite part about the Heat is how deep they are, and like their bench unit is like not that much worse than their starting unit, in my opinion. Would you agree? Is Dragic the 6th man now? Did he go back to that role?
I don't even think Dragic is the 6th man because Dragic was struggling a bit and he's picked it up recently with the injuries and stuff like that. Kendrick Nunn needs to get more minutes because every time he plays, this man is dropping 25, 30, like when they actually give him a big role. I think Ariza, when he doesn't, I don't know if Ariza starts. I think Ariza starts, but the Heat don't really have a 6th man. It's kind of whoever's playing at that moment really well is the one that's getting the most minutes, and that's kind of been Spoelstra's mentality for the last couple seasons.
Gotcha. Yeah, that bench unit though, like having Dragic, having Iguodala, guys like that coming off your bench, it's always going to be a solid addition to like keep you guys in games. And the main part in playoff basketball, I think, is having those 3 to 4 max, I think, bench players that can come in and either hold your lead or like keep you in a game. And if you don't have that, you're not winning, like you're not making it out of the first round. And we've seen that before with past teams.
Well, that's why I took the Heat to make the finals last year in February. Everyone was clowning me and Joseph, like, you're taking the Heat?
Yeah,
like,
remember that?
Look at the Heat's bench. And this was before everyone knew Duncan Robinson was Duncan Robinson. I'm like, look at the Heat's bench. And the bench is pretty similar to last season. Like, we lost Iggy, we lost DJJ. Trevor Ariza has filled that role really nicely. The Heat, I'm not saying they're back, but whoever they play in the playoffs, even if they play the Nets, it's going to be a tough series. Very tough series for the other team.
Is Iguodala's playing, right, or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Okay.
Father Time throwing windmill dunks out of nowhere. Andre Iguodala.
Yeah, so I think – but yeah, let's get into Oladipo a little bit because I want to defend my point here. My thing with Oladipo is he's on the verge of being a star, but I don't think he's a star. Like, I think he's like that – what would you say? Like, not a role player, but not a star. He's like right –
I think he's the 3rd option on a championship team. I think that's what he is.
Yeah, okay.
The thing is that for the Heat, Oladipo doesn't have to be the 2nd best player because you have Bam.
Yeah.
They brought him in to complement those two, and the Heat don't have anyone that could guard guards except Bam and Jimmy, basically, and they're not guards. That's why they brought Oladipo in. I think that's the sole reason why. They brought him in to counter Brooklyn. I think that's why Oladipo came.
I love his defense. I don't love his offense. I don't think he's that as consistent as need be. But I just
he doesn't
don't
have to be.
Yeah, he doesn't have to. But like, he can guard it. Like he can guard a guard. But if it comes to like finals time, who's he going to be guard? Like, if you match up with a team like, okay, let's say Lakers in the finals.
You play the Lakers.
He's not going to guard LeBron or AD.
Jimmy gets Braun, and Bam gets AD.
But we saw what happened with that last year. So I don't think it's
different though. The thing that's different this year is, now I'm not saying the Heat will beat the Lakers. The thing that's different is the Heat team is not injured now, and Bam's a full year. Bam wasn't in defensive player of the year conversations last year. Now he's top 4. Now Jimmy doesn't have to worry about scoring 40 night in the finals. You have more like they were missing a piece or two last year, and I don't know if they have it yet. But just the fact that Jimmy doesn't have to completely defend out of his mind by himself if Oladipo is healthy, and now they have that big man in Dedmon who can just guard the paint, I think that's where this team's better than they were last year.
Okay. Yeah.
But let's move on. Let's move on from the Heat because I want Drew to say some stuff because Drew's just been sitting there watching this whole time. We can talk about the Heat for hours, but yeah.
I'll let Drew kick us off right now with one other thing I want to talk about, and that is Stephen Curry. What do you got to say about Chef Steph?
Oh,
Chef Steph. Okay, am I good now? First of all,
guest appearance.
What's up, brother? How we doing?
What's up?
You missed the Heat talk, but we're gonna talk a little bit about Steph Curry now. So Drew, continue with that point.
So Chef Steph has been playing out of his absolute mind in the past week. He's been the sole reason why the Warriors are hanging on by a thread in this season. Obviously before what I said that Jokic was the clear cut for MVP, Curry makes a very, very good case for the number 2 spot. And I feel like if he keeps this kind of production up, the race for MVP is only going to be that much closer between Jokic and Curry. Like, it's ridiculous how he's playing right now. And I feel like if he keeps this up this season and next season, like his standing all time for me is going to go way up. I feel like he's going to be a top. Actually, this is my hot take. He's going to be the greatest point guard of all time. That's my hot take.
Whoa.
Ooh, Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson has entered the chat.
I know. It's just
but he's got a point. Like,
he does have a point.
Steph has been playing unbelievable basketball. But if we're talking about the MVP talk, I feel like you're sleeping on Embiid. No?
I'm like I like Embiid, but I don't think he's the best. Like, I don't think he's an MVP winner. Only because, like, I just think he's so easy to shut down, and once you get him rattled a bit, he's doing nothing.
Okay, that's true.
I don't think he's a leader, like, to be the most valuable player on it.
I think Jokic is better. And when we're comparing 2 centers for an MVP race, like, Ben Simmons is in Defensive Player of the Year conversation, and now, even though he's ahead of Bam, I talked about it, Bam has better stats against the top players in the league when he guards them. So I don't think Simmons should win Defensive Player of the Year. Now, we know the media and whoever votes hates the Heat with a burning passion. The Heat hates them. But Jokic should be the MVP over Embiid. That's what I'm going to say. They hate the Heat.
I think Jokic is winning the MVP. And I think the big thing that comes into it is NBA awards always come down to the team's record. And it's just the way it is. It shouldn't be like that, but it's always like that. So if you're looking at the 4-seed Nuggets compared to the 10-seed Warriors, I think Jokic is winning that.
What do you think, Goldie?
The MVP race is just so – how do I put this? It's complicated because what do you define as valuable? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can make an argument Jimmy Butler and Chris Paul, guys that might not have the stats that these other guys have, but they impact winning more than these other players. Like, you see the Heat are a completely different team with Jimmy Butler in the lineup. The Suns were a laughingstock for the last 10 years, and now they're the second place in the Western Conference with Chris Paul. So, like, the MVP is a very complicated award because, like, guys like in recent years, like Russell Westbrook and James Harden are putting up triple-double numbers. They're being great, like, numbers-wise. But
they're not helping the team that much.
That's what I'm saying. You know, so like, what do you define as valuable?
Well, Goldie, you're a hockey guy, and I've talked about this with Corrado from Two Pigeons in a Pod. Well, Pigeons in a Pod now. When we're looking at the Art Ross and we're looking at the most valuable player in the NHL, McDavid will put up the most. It seems like the NHL gives that award to the guy with the most points, but those guys aren't always the most valuable to their team when you're looking at these rosters. So if Kucherov gets like last year, say Kucherov got it, Kucherov's team's stacked.
Yeah.
Compare that to like someone who doesn't have anyone. So Steph Curry,
Yeah.
Chris Paul, but Chris Paul completely changed the way Phoenix, Devin Booker had to win 8 straight games in the bubble last year just for them to not make the playoffs.
Exactly. That's how down there they were. You know what I'm saying? Like they were that far down in the standings. They won every single game in the bubble and they still missed the playoffs.
Yeah. So when we're I know Drew loves the Phoenix Suns, but they're second place. They're 44 wins this season with Chris Paul. We've seen with the Heat. The Heat looked like they weren't even going to make a play-in game. Jimmy Butler comes back. They go on a 6-game win streak. Jimmy Butler's out. The Heat look like crap. I agree with Goldie's point. And
No, I do too. There are those players in the league that don't get the credit they deserve in sense of being the most valuable player on their team, but not putting
LeBron would win every year if the MVP actually took the player most valuable to their team.
Honestly, I think LeBron should win every year. He should have won the last 10 MVPs. If we're being serious about who's the most valuable player in the league, it's LeBron James.
Well, if we're talking about value in the NBA's pockets, then yeah, for sure.
That's true. But yeah, valuable, it just goes down to it's always going to be the number race. Because even looking an NBA Finals, let's look when the Raptors won the chip. I don't think Kawhi obviously put up the numbers, but there was other guys on the court throughout that finals run that I think that final series that were more valuable than Kawhi at times.
Fred VanVleet having a kid completely changed the outcome of that Milwaukee
series. Yeah, that's what I mean. If you really think about it, Kawhi won because Kawhi was the guy that was always the first scoring option. But if you look at his support cast, most games they were doing more than he was. Game 1, Siakam put up 30 points.
Yeah.
So it comes down to being the first scoring option and being people view you as the star.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely guys that are more valuable than those stars in this league.
Well, that's why my problem with the Clippers is when Kawhi left, it's you left a team that literally did everything for you. When you play Giannis they put the two twin towers up there of Ibaka and Gasol. Giannis couldn't do anything. Embiid was in Gasol's pocket the entire playoffs. And then you leave I think the Raptors and the Heat are very similar teams in the systems they play, the team basketball they play, and I think teams like that are the best teams in the NBA. Honestly, I still think team basketball will prevail.
I agree.
Yeah, if you look at some of the most popular teams in the league, I would say Raptors, Heat, the Suns I'm putting in there. They're just teams that don't have the
elite.
You know what I mean? I would say Jimmy Butler is pretty close to being a superstar, but people don't view him as that for some reason.
Yeah, people don't rate him like that. Unless you're
but
from
I think
Miami.
he's the closest out of any team to having a superstar. But out of those teams, they don't have the clear poster boy for the NBA.
Yeah,
but they're still
agree.
Some of the best teams in the league, and it shows how much of the system is more important than the players at times.
I think for the Heat, one of our most valuable assets is Eric Spoelstra. Honestly, last year's playoffs proved that. I mean, I'm not saying this, but to an extent, you can make an argument that Spoelstra was more valuable than Giannis last playoffs. Spoelstra shut him down.
Oh yeah, Budenholzer should have lost his job after Spoelstra just completely ran circles around in that playoff.
We beat the Bucks in 5. The Heat beat the Bucks in 5 games. That wasn't even a series. We smacked them. And
I remember that.
A lot of that has to do with the coaching of Eric Spoelstra. And they said, we're going to stop Giannis. And we're going to
2 straight years, the Bucks got out-coached.
Yeah.
They got embarrassed. They got reverse swept by a first-year coach.
Yeah.
That's a bad look for them, man.
And I'm telling you, it's going to happen again this year. The Bucks aren't making the finals.
I don't think the Bucks are making the finals.
No. I don't think they're making the finals, but I like them a lot better this year. Like I said,
I like them a lot better, but Steve Nash is gonna outcoach the Bucks. Steve Nash was doing Bleacher Report football last year. He was covering the Champions League.
But those Bucks, if you just get them like I think 2 to 3 bench players, they're going to the finals. But they have no one.
If you get them Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, and Andre Iguodala, they might make the finals.
What was I about to say?
I also hate Brook Lopez on that Bucks team. I don't think he should be a starting set. The way they value him is way too overvalued.
Well, the Bucks got a lot better this year. Like Drew Holiday, PJ Tucker, like those are some really good pickups.
Yeah, I agree.
They look better this year, but I still don't see them beating Philly or Brooklyn. In a 7-game series when it comes down to it, I just don't see it.
I see them beating Philly.
For this year. I know they're top of the Eastern Conference, but Philly's been great this year, and Doc Rivers has really done a good job with that team. He knows how to manage superstars, although he didn't do a great job in LA. But like back in Boston, like he did a good job with that team. Like they won championship.
Yeah.
I think Philly. I
don't think Philly has it.
This year.
I don't like Philly this year. I don't think they have what it takes to be a championship team this year.
I just never liked Philly as a Heat and Raptors fan, to be honest with you.
I never liked them, period.
Yeah.
I just think they're so much better than Brooklyn defensively that they can give them a series. Although Brooklyn has more star power, you got guys like Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. Like the Sixers are big, and that's gonna help them. I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex, anything else you want to cover on this edition of The Charge?
What play-in round series do you want to see the most? Looking at the standings, looking at about what you think could happen.
I gotta pull up these standings then.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I'll pull up the standings right now.
All right, pull up
everyone.
I just want to
Eastern Conference first.
I just want to say something really quick. So remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but the very first episode of The Charge, I said that I had the Celtics making it out of the East. I was terribly wrong because the Celtics have flopped and folded this season, and I've realized that aside from their starting lineup, they don't have what it takes to make it out of the East, let alone.
Or Jason Tatum suffered COVID, had breathing problems, and he still has to go drop 44.
Yeah.
For them to just beat the Warriors.
I don't think Celtics are that team this year, and I completely take back my statement. And to some extent, I feel like it's my curse that brought it.
You're evil, man.
Right, so we're looking at the East standings right now. 7, 8, 9, 10 all play-in round series. Now, keep in mind 4 through 7 separated by like 2 games. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, for me at least, Miami's gonna be 4, 5, or 6. And I think Atlanta drops down, and I think Boston could drop down too.
How are they running the play-in this year? Is it 7 versus 10 and 8 versus 9?
No.
7 plays 8, 9 plays 10. Whoever wins 7, 8 plays the second seed. Whoever wins 9, 10 plays the first seed.
Gotcha.
No,
So
that's not how it is.
That is how it is, no?
7 plays 8, and the winner of that gets the 7 seed. They play the 2 seed. And then the loser of that plays the winner of the 9-10 game, and then the winner of that gets the 8 seed.
That makes more sense. I was going to say, how does the 8 seed just get bounced?
No, the 8 seed doesn't get bounced. If the loser of the 7 versus 8 game plays the winner of 9 versus 10.
Yeah.
And then the winner of that game is the 8 seed.
That's so confusing.
I like it, though. I kind of like it.
Why did they do that, though?
But it adds an element.
Are they just trying to add more games? Because
they're just trying to get Zion in the playoffs, man, for revenue. I'm serious.
They did it last year just to get Zion in the playoffs, and it didn't work.
New Orleans is like 3 games behind Steph Curry.
The only reason that so many teams went to the bubble last year was to get Zion in there, in my opinion. I truly believe the NBA revolves around Zion Williamson.
They didn't get well. You know how the media hasn't been covering Zion at all this year. They're still pissed that he didn't make the playoffs.
They love LaMelo this year.
The NBA is holding the grudge. They're pissed.
Look, they love LaMelo. LaMelo's back.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
I think the Pacers fall out, and I think the Bulls finish in the top 10.
I need to find that tweet. I called the Bulls in the play-in because everyone was saying they're finishing bottom of the barrel, but I called them in the play-in.
And I think they made a lot of good moves at the deadline. I liked what the Bulls did.
We
Toronto's
talked
been
about this at the
smart.
beginning of the episode. We like what they did, but it doesn't seem to be working.
Oh my! Look who's here for the last segment.
Wow.
Oh, that's my face again. Look
I
who's
had
here
to.
for the final segment.
I had to pull up, bro. I was a bit late. I had some things I had to see too, but all that
You
matters.
know, he
I'm
just
back.
had to envision the future. But we are talking about this is the last segment, so you're gonna give us your pick on hold on, get that good iced coffee, and we're gonna talk about the playing round we want. So I'm gonna we'll start with Drew, then we'll go Jamie, Joseph, Ryan, and then I'll go last. Each conference, what is one playing game you want to see?
Oh man, I mean, all jokes aside, that Hornets commentator is doing his job, so I want to see as many games from them as possible. But for me, I don't care who plays who. I just want to see Miami finish top 5. And me being a Knicks hater for the past couple of years, I don't really want them winning. I'm sorry. I'm happy for them, obviously, because they've never had the success.
So you want a Heat Knicks, Heat and 4 kind of vibe?
I guess,
Is that what you want?
yeah.
All
I
right,
get that.
cool. I'm
Yeah.
down with that. I'm
And
about that.
obviously want to see the Raptors, make some moves, but only time will tell what happens.
Raptors are still there. I didn't
They're
even
there. They're there.
I don't want them to be there. I want them to.
Yeah, I don't want
I
them
want
to
them
be there
to.
either.
I want
but
them to
they're
fade for
Yeah.
Cade
Fade for Cade, man.
Favorite Cade, bro.
or suck for Suggs. It's like, come on, boys. And how about the West, Drew?
Oh man, I'm going with the same logic. I want
Portland.
obviously, you know me. How about them Valley boys? I love them Phoenix Suns. I want them to stay up there. They're not going anywhere. Obviously, DeMar being one of my favorite players in the NBA. I obviously want him and the Spurs to move up. Last year I had Dallas as like a noisemaker in the West, so I'd like to see them, I guess, bounce back from last year's performance. I want to see them move up, and as much of a Warriors hater that I am, I do want to see Golden State succeed because Curry really deserves it.
So pick one matchup. What matchup do you want in the West?
Man, just any matchup in the West.
First
from the
round.
play-in.
Oh, play it. I
Play-in.
want to see Dallas and Golden State.
Okay.
Dallas.
All right, Goldie. Let's hear it. Eastern Conference playing, Western Conference playing. Who we got?
For the East, like I said earlier, I think the Pacers are falling out, and I think the Bulls are going to grab that 10th spot. I think that game with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal going against Vooch and Levine, I think that'd be a very exciting game, Wizards-Bulls, for the 9-10 game. I see the Wizards winning it just because they're a little bit more playoff experience with guys like Westbrook and Beal. So, yeah, that's my pick for the East. I also have the Heat in the top 6, 100%.
I have the Heat in the top 6 also.
I have the Heat
Looking
in the
how
top 6.
close it is.
I have Atlanta dropping probably to the bottom 4, like 7 through 10.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be interesting. Atlanta, Charlotte. I'm taking Atlanta if everyone's healthy.
All right, how about the West?
In the West, I want it to stay exactly how it is right now. I think San Antonio, Golden State would be in a very exciting game in the 9-10. DeMar DeRozan, Greg Popovich, and then you got Steph on the other side. And then, wow, the West is stacked. Oh, my gosh.
It is. Yeah.
The West is so stacked because I'm looking at, like, 2 of these teams are not going to make the playoffs from Dallas, Memphis, San Antonio, and Golden State. And those are all, in my opinion, playoff teams.
Look at New Orleans. Like, they got players too.
Zion, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Like, the New Orleans is a good team, and, like, they're so deep in the West because the West is just so deep top to bottom. Like, OKC stinks, but they come out and they fight every night. I really like OKC, actually.
I mean, all their players are 14 right now. Like, we're waiting a couple of years because Sam Presti bought a middle school.
They literally have like 17 first-round picks in the next.
Who said that? Someone told me that. I can't remember who said that.
The trade for Myers
absurd.
Leonard was
It's
for a
absurd
13-year-old
what
kid.
the Thunder are doing, but I could see it working. Trust the process type beat.
All right, who's up next? I think we got, was it Ryan or Joseph?
I'll let Ryan go first.
All right. So The East is just so embarrassingly weak this year, and it has been for a few years actually. But I expect with the addition of Vooch, I think you can expect the Bulls to make some sort of splash and fall into that play-in category, and I think they might come out of it too. They might get into the playoffs here. I think that Vooch and Levine combination, like in a pick and roll set, is like actually nasty. Like Vooch is always, he's been that sort of pick guy. You can put him around pretty much anywhere. He spaces the floor well. So I think the Bulls could really make a splash this year. I want to see them come out of the playoffs, and I think that the Pacers will retain that 9 seed, but I think that the Wizards are going to fall out, and the Bulls will move up. That's what I think, at least.
No love for Westbrook?
Bro, Westbrook is just I don't know, man. He's averaging a triple-double this year, but he'll always be Westbrook. He's I'm not going to call him overrated because he gets so much hate, especially like on Twitter.
With Westbrook's not a number 1 option on a championship team. He might not even be a number 2 option. He's a number 3 option.
And
I'll tell you right now, hot take. He's gonna win a ring, but he's gonna be a bench player. It's gonna be in 4 years. That's what's gonna happen.
Could be.
That's a hot take, Palmer.
He's not winning.
Gonna happen.
He's not winning with the Wizards. He's
gonna sign a vet. He's gonna sign a vet min in like 4 years somewhere, and he's gonna win a ring. That's what's gonna happen.
He'll try to take the boogie route.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What year of his contract is he at? Like, how many years does he have left?
If someone wants to pull that up, let us know.
He's got quite a bit.
I can tell you.
Yeah, I think it's still pretty early.
Yeah. So.
All right. How about the West?
So in the East, I'm picking the Bulls as like the underdog, but in the West, as Goldie rightly said, it's such a deep conference this year. The West is so strong. I want to see Dallas make a splash, and I think that they can because last year they showed that even without Tingus Pingus, they can still take the Clippers. They could have won that series against the Clippers.
I said earlier, a one-legged Luka Doncic almost took out the Clippers. So.
Yeah. So you got, and their team's just as strong this year. So
Jason Richardson,
they're easily the strongest team in the playoff in the play-in format with the.
Do you think they stay in the play-in, or do you think Portland drops down or something?
That's tough because Portland's also. I love Portland as a team. Like they're dogs. Like you got Lillard, McCollum, you got all those guys, Nurkic. Like it's a strong team. Even Melo. I kind of like. I know Joseph's not a big fan, but I've always been a Melo fan. I like Melo.
So those are the matchups.
No, I think that the Pelicans are going to move up because I think they're kind of underrated. They're just a young team, but they have gobs of talent. Like they're so talented, especially Zion and Bi. I think they're going to move up. Warriors are going to drop out. Spurs are going to retain it. It's going to be coming out of that play, and I think it's going to be the Mavericks and the Pelicans.
Okay. All right, Joseph.
All right. So for this Eastern Conference, I think it's definitely going to change quite a bit. I have the Hawks dropping down, Heat dropping up, and I also have the Wizards out of the playoff spot, Raptors taking it over the Bulls and the Wizards. Raptors are going to come on some miraculous final stretch. But the matchup I want to see in that is Charlotte and the Hawks. And I'm taking Charlotte to beat them. If we have a healthy Hornets team, I just want to see LaMelo match up with Trae Young because I think they're very similar players, but I think LaMelo's already better. I'm not a Trae Young fan.
That's honestly, a hot take.
You know, Lonzo, I don't know if it's still like this, but at one point in the season, Lonzo had more threes made than Trae Young. Yeah, Trae Young only can hit threes.
I'm not sold on Trae Young. He's very one-dimensional, and I think I personally compared LaMelo and them together. LaMelo's proved me wrong with how good he's been, and I think LaMelo's better already. So
LaMelo's good.
I think that's a fun matchup.
He's legit, man. He's legit.
That'd be a fun play-in a pretty underwhelming Eastern Conference.
All right, let's head over to the West, the stacked West.
For this West, I have Dallas moving up into the top 6 and Portland dropping down because Portland is the best bad team in the NBA. they're good, but Portland's realizing what I realized, that Norman Powell is not that good.
Ooh, you're gonna hear it from Raptors Twitter.
The disrespect.
I said it on the last.
Tangible.
I said it on the last live stream. Powell's okay. He's good, like he can score, but he's like horrible basketball IQ. So many defensive mistakes. He messes up plays all the time with like weird passes. So he's not like what people made him out to be. Like, yeah,
That's Osmo's Norm you're talking about. Where you getting your chicken and the rocks from now? Gary Trent Jr. probably actually.
Gary Trent Jr. has a higher ceiling than Norm, and I called that.
That's for sure.
On the last episode.
True.
So it's not like I'm just jumping on the bandwagon because he's played well. I called this that he's on the last episode. He's better in the sense. But yeah, I have Portland dropping down into that plan, and I want to see a Portland Golden State matchup just so I can see Dame versus Curry, the two best point guards in the NBA right now. And Curry's going to upset and take his team into the playoffs.
I don't know about that. Dame time. Come on now.
That's Dollar Dame.
Dame time.
Come on, man. Dame
In
Dollar.
clutch time, I'm taking him over like any other player in the
I
league.
love Dame. No, Dame is like one of my favorite players in the league. Easily, that's a non-Raptor, but yeah. I don't know.
Does Dame lose again to his hometown team? He's an Oakland boy. They're in Stanford right now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I think Curry pulls off the upset just to like add to this crazy season he's having.
If he
All right.
gets them into the playoffs, he has my vote for MVP.
Yeah.
Mine too.
It's honestly, yeah.
All
Hey.
team records aside, he wins it.
All right, here we go. Miami moves up. Atlanta drops down. Yeah, so I think Boston still hangs on to that 6th spot. I think Atlanta drops down. I don't see Indiana making it. See, I feel like the Raptors would make it, but I don't want them to. So for the purpose of the tank, I'm going to have Chicago jump up. So it's going to be Atlanta, Charlotte, Chicago, Washington. I'm taking Charlotte against Atlanta because I've seen what Malik Monk has done to the Heat. And, you know, LaMelo healthy. Like, it's a good team. It's a pretty good team. So they take that. Washington, Chicago. I'm going to take – I think Chicago's a better team, but I'm taking Bradley Beal. Purely, I'm taking Bradley Beal to win this series. And then they get bounced by Charlotte. That's what's going to happen. In the West, I want to say New Orleans makes the move because Zion's just been putting up stupid numbers, but this team just doesn't know what to do. I don't see San Antonio falling out either. I really don't. I think it's going to stay the way it is. I think Dallas is going to jump up to 6. I think Portland drops down. It's going to be Portland, Golden State, Memphis, San Antonio. I'm taking Golden State. No. Yeah, I'm taking Golden State. Because this is how many games you play in the play-in? Like 3? Is it one?
That's the third. Oh, it's just one game now?
One.
It's just one? Okay, so I'm taking Steph Curry. And San Antonio, Memphis, I'm taking Pop. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm taking Pop too.
I'm taking Pop. I'm taking Pop over a lot of people.
No love for
Experience is a
Ja.
lot.
It's not even no love for Ja. It's just Greg Popovich still has DeMar DeRozan. I wish he got traded to a contender. He's going to sign with a contender next year. He is the type of guy that could be the second best player on a championship team.
Hey, he's going to sign with the Toronto Raptors.
Well, I said championship team. So.
That'd be such a beautiful story if he does.
And then Kyle stays, and then they get like a 3rd overall pick or something, and then, oh shit, they might run it back. So,
Dude, that'd be nuts, bro. That'd be nuts.
I would be down with that, to be honest, man. I
That'd
would
be such a beautiful,
totally
it'd be
down
such a
with that.
beautiful story. Like that's just written perfectly.
Dude, all the Toronto man with like a throwback to Rosen jersey next year when they go back to the purple Raptors jersey is gonna be stupid. We're gonna be walking to class in Dundas Street, and everyone outside the SLC is just gonna be wearing DeMar DeRozan Raptors jersey.
I got that OG DeRozan jersey waiting for when that happens. So
I want the
I'm just
Toronto Huskies DeMar DeRozan jersey. That's what I want.
Oh,
I like the Huskies.
I like that. So yeah, we're 59 minutes in the show. I'm gonna let the Cash Man, the head of basketball at the Intermission, to wrap it up. But quickly, Papa Intermission just wants to thank all the boys for coming out. Thanks Goalie, thanks Drew, thanks Ryan, and let's send it over to Cash Man.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another live edition of The Charge. We had a great episode here, talked about all things NBA. On behalf of myself, Ryan, Drew, Goldie, and Alex, we thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Charge. Peace out.